you watch the video, just so you know, I do switch Twitch and Thrash's names quite a bit. I will correct it at the end of the video. I just want to give a heads up. Hello, what's up? I'm Brian here doing another video for you guys, and this time SDCC is still going on, and Nickelodeon and Paramount Plus decided to show off Transformers EarthSpark. This is the upcoming series, and I gotta admit, the series looks okay, you know? I'm not gonna completely jump on board with this because it might be bad, I don't know. And I need to point out, yes, I'm an adult and this show is intended for kids, but even as myself, I mean, I was a kid once, so I kind of can register what I probably would be into. But even with that said, even for myself, I think it's in general just fine, you know, as a additional Transformers TV show. I don't think it's going to be up to par with some other things, but I don't think it looks bad. So, what's the show about and what did they reveal? So, they showed a teaser that's been published online, but for some reason not to an international audience. For some reason, it's restricted in different locations. And then to make it even more confusing, there was a 2-minute teaser and then a 6-minute teaser. But for some reason, you could also see that 2-minute teaser on Instagram. It's kind of weird. I don't really understand why they decided to do that. But I saw the teaser myself. I was able to, view that. I'm not going to show any of the frames because I don't want to get in trouble for that. But I'll just give you the heads up. So it's about 2 human kid characters, which I know everyone's going to be on board with. But 2 kid characters come across this weird relic thing, and out pop 2 Cybertronian characters. They're pretty much born, and they have a nice connection with them. They are Thrash and Twitch. I believe Thrash transforms into this drone thing, and then Twitch will transform into a bike with a sidecar, which, yes, justice for sidecars, because we don't get enough of those with bike transformers, so that's awesome to see. And it's pretty cool to actually see them in action. Now, I will say that Twitch has a design that kind of feels like something from that CGI, I think it was Max Steel's show, I can't remember exactly, but it looks very similar to that and doesn't really connect well with the overall flow of some of the other character designs, but I think he's going to be okay. And I like the fact that it looks like the sidecar will be able to transform into a shield. I think that's going to be awesome for some of the toys. As far as Twitch is concerned, she actually kind of reminds me of Windblade in certain ways. I mean, she's got the little turbines on the backpack. I even like the little wings, the blades there. I think that's pretty cool. And I think they're fine additions. I think they're going to be the mainstay characters of the show, despite the fact that the teaser did show off a lot of some of the other characters. Now, let's go ahead and go through some of them. We've got, of course, Optimus Prime, which was confirmed to be voiced by Alan Tudyk, which I'm kind of surprised by. I mean, Alan has done a lot of stuff. If you watched a Disney movie, in the past 10 years, you probably heard his voice. But I find that kind of crazy that Alan Tudyk is the voice of Optimus Prime for this show. And you know what's funny is that this isn't the first time he's been shown off in Transformers. He was in Dark of the Moon. He was Dutch, so I find that kind of surprising. And then also one of the guys from Community is voicing Bumblebee, who is going to be leading these 2 characters and basically trying to teach them, about fighting and combat and whatnot. So it kind of reminded me of the Robots in Disguise show where they introduced these new characters to the mainstay team, and then Bumblebee was leading those characters. So it's kind of similar to that. But we also see Elita 1, which transforms into this boxy style truck, and I like that actually. I think that's, kind of nice. I think I actually prefer that for Elita 1 now. Megatron, who transforms, and I love this, into a twin rotor plane, much like the animated design. Now, his alt mode does look more like Lugnut, but still, I'm getting animated vibes from that, and I'm loving that. I know a lot of people wanted to see that alt mode return, so that's fantastic. His design in robot mode seems very similar to the IDW comics, and most of these designs are kind of in between the Cyberverse, the Evergreen, and IDW design. You could definitely tell that with Bumblebee, which we'll take a look at in some of the toys later on. But those are some of the main Autobots. We also see Wheeljack pop up a couple of times. And then for the Decepticons, they're pretty cool too. Actually, before the Decepticons, there's also the Arachnicons or something. I don't know. It kind of reminded me of the Scraplets, and it's and they're led by this human character with a robot arm. It's some sort of drone thing. I can't remember all the names. This is all kind of new information for me, so I'm trying to remember everything. I'm sure I'll remember everything, so you don't have to respond with, well, actually, his name was... But, yeah, there's a human villain character, so that's pretty cool. But not only that, there's Bombshell that shows up in the show, and he doesn't seem to carry a Decepticon logo. He seems to carry this insect logo, so I wonder if he's associated with the Decepticons or if he's associated with the, human guy, arachnid, whatever it is. And then also, Swindle shows up, which I'm very surprised by. And then the biggest shock ever is in some of the frames, you can see a Decepticon character that looks very similar to Energon Snowcat. That blew me away. I am so shocked that we're getting new characters, obscure characters, mainstay characters, all in this teaser for Transformers EarthSpark. Again, I'm not sure who's going to be the headliners. It's probably mostly going to be Thrash, Twitch, and Bumblebee, but despite that, I mean, that's a lot of different characters to show off just like that. And when we first heard about Cyberverse, we knew about a handful of characters, so I could imagine going forward with Transformers EarthSpark, we're going to see a lot of characters. Anyways, moving right along, so this is the logo, but we did also see a lot of the toys for the series from the Hasbro booth, and here's some of the alt modes. Now, for some reason, at the Hasbro booth, they're not showing too much of the alt modes. They seem to just completely skip out. For the in-hand booth, you could actually see that they transformed some of the figures, but not everything, and they just had one of each. Like the Seeker, you had it in the jet mode at the booth, but that was it. There was no robot mode to compare it side by side. And it's the same thing with the Generations Legacy stuff, so I don't know what's going on with that. I just want to see both modes because I want to get an idea of some of these characters, but at least we got this image that kind of showed up. So you got that big, I think it's like a Twist Changer Bumblebee. You've got the Warrior Class Alita 1, which her alt mode kind of reminds me of Quillfire. You've got this finger puppet thing, which is Optimus Prime, a one-step Bumblebee. And then the most exciting one from this list is the, I think it's Thrash figure. That's a Deluxe class toy, and she looks pretty cool. She transforms into a drone. I believe it's a she, if I'm not mistaken. That's what I was hearing, so that's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the toy images. So these are the one-step flip changers, so, typical one-step changers. I will say for the toy line, by the way, is that I think they're doing a pretty fair job at continuing what Cyberverse did, but not really ruining anything. You know how when Cyberverse started, they kind of ruined the Warrior class line by adding these gimmicks with the weapons, and some of them just weren't that good. It seemed like they learned from that moving forward, and they even continued the Deluxe class lineup, which I'm excited for that. So I do like what they're going on with EarthSpark, and nothing really seems, offensive or bad or anything like that. It's just the typical stuff we've seen before, so nothing really worth getting upset about, except for one toy that I'm really not happy about. But yeah, a one-step Optimus, a one-step Wheeljack, and a one-step Bumblebee. Not really much for me to comment here. It seems to have that original Age of Extinction drift transformation where it's kind of that little fold-up thing. But yeah, they look fine. And then we also have these finger puppet things, which are much smaller compared to the one-step changers. And I gotta say that I'm probably not going to get any of them, but if I do, I'm not gonna mind. I actually like the idea of these as just simple little fun transformable figures. Not really anything to get upset about, just something that's kind of thrown in, and I find them adorable, so there's that. Moving right along, we also have the Bumblebee and Malto, if I'm not mistaken, that's the name. So it comes with one of the human characters, and this is a spin changer figure. So this is the tallest figure from the EarthSpark line that we've seen so far. And I imagine that when you twist the legs, it's going to automatically transform part of it. And it looks fine, it's the typical Bumblebee design, but again, kind of shares a similar aspect to some of the Cyberverse toys. So not really much for me to comment here necessarily because it's not a toy that I'm necessarily interested in, but I'm glad that we're getting some of the human characters in some of the toys. Anyways, moving right along, let's get into the Warrior class lineup. So the first one we have is an Optimus Prime. Now, similar to the first Warrior class Optimus Prime, it does come with a flip-out axe, but it's not part of the arm gimmick and it doesn't restrict any of the articulation. That's what I was getting ahead of when I was talking about it felt like they learned from the previous mistakes of some of the other toy lines. So he does transform into this longer nose cab. It's not a complete long nose thing, but they made similarities to the Transformers Prime design, and I can kind of see that. But I think overall it's okay. It's not really fantastic. It definitely has a thin looking waist. I'm not a huge fan of the design for Optimus Prime in EarthSpark. The head shape is just not really that great to me, but for this toy, I think it's okay. And then we also have the Warrior Class Elita 1, which we mentioned previously. So she does not have a hand on this side, but she does have a flip-out gun. So on one side, it's got the smaller pistol, but then that can flip out to make a larger pistol. And I kind of like that idea of just swapping the hand for different weapons. It kind of reminds me of the Paraka from Bionicle, if anyone remembers that. But I think overall she's fine. I would like to see a Deluxe class version that would clean this up a little bit more. But yeah, she's fine. You know, I like the design of the head. I like the colors overall, although I feel like the torso could break up a little bit more. I think overall it's, you know, it's fair. It's fine. And then taking a look at this one. Now, this is the worst toy to be revealed. So, one of the worst toys that I've ever gotten from the Cyberverse line was the Warrior Class Starscream mold. I didn't get the Starscream. I got the Acid Storm because I like Acid Storm. So, I got that toy, and it's one of the worst. You can't do anything with the legs, and it just has this spin around gimmick. The jet mode is crap, and I was happy that they eventually changed that out in the Cyberverse toy line for this one that has the flip out guns and the full articulation. That was nice. I'm not talking about the Deluxe class figure, but they made another Warrior class figure in its place. So I thought that was pretty cool. Now, for some reason in the EarthSpark, they decided to go back to that original toy that was crap to begin with, and they decided to make this. Now, the colors look pretty cool. I like the blue, I like the gray, but they called it Skywarp. This is not Skywarp. I'm sorry, there's no way you can convince me it's Skywarp. I know it's the same situation as the Blitzwing thing, but I think this is far worse because this is a typical Seeker design. You couldn't just add purple, you had to make it blue for some reason. It feels like you purposely got it wrong for the sake of just getting it wrong. And then, on top of that, again, it's one of the worst toys. So, this is just crap. This is garbage. I don't care for it. I like the colors, but it's not Skywarp. Anyways, moving right along, we also have the Deluxe class lineup. Now, this is something that I'm going to be interested in, if anything, for the EarthSpark line. And I gotta say that this Bumblebee looks fantastic. I think this is one of my favorite designs for Bumblebee so far. The alt mode kind of reminds me of a Ford GT. Now again, we didn't really get too many images of the alt mode, but you could see it from the show, and you could see that with some of the other toys. But I think this is nice because it definitely complements that IDW design while feeling similar to that Cyberverse design as well. I think that the colors are nice. There's not too many glaring colors, like they don't just add blue or anything. It's mostly just black and yellow with a little bit of red touch-ups for the backlights and of course the Autobot symbol. And I do like the fact that the doors are hanging off the shoulders this time around. I don't know, that's just a personal thing. The backpack seems to collapse pretty well for this toy. And I think the design just overall looks very nice. It's very sharp, very much like the Bumblebee style that we've seen multiple times before. So yeah, this is a design that I really like. Moving right along, we also have Megatron. Now Megatron, I feel like doesn't really complement that light gray color to the plastic. It's very similar to the original Cyberverse Deluxe Megatron, where I felt like that tone of gray just didn't really work, especially in separating some of the elements, but I will say that the design looks pretty good. Again, it's very IDW style, and you can see these designs in the chest that kind of reminds me of the curly look from the stickers of the original G1 Megatron, but they tried to touch it up to where it actually looks, you know, like part of the character. I think the fusion cannon does look a little too big for me, but overall it looks fine, and I don't know, I'd like to see a bunch of customs for this guy. I want to see what people change this into, because I could see multiple things. It actually kind of reminds me, if you swap the head and you take out the fusion cannon, it kind of looks like Broadside to me. And then last but not least is the... Okay, so this is Twitch, not Thrash. Okay, so I got the names wrong. This is Twitch. And she looks pretty cool for this toy. You know, this is a new character getting a Deluxe class figure. I like the wings on the back. These almost Energon style blades look very nice. The gun looks pretty cool. I imagine you can attach that to the hand. You can see that it does plug over it. And, you know, it's got the same basic articulation that you can expect for a Deluxe class figure. I love the turbines on the back there. And yeah, I'm curious to see what else is going to be introduced for the Deluxe class line. So, with that out of the way, what do you guys think? Please comment below, let me know. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and all those fun doodads. And then we'll see you guys next time.
EarthSpark TV. Now that's just prime.